In this video, we're going to give our player animations by using a state machine. Let's get started. What exactly is a state machine anyway? We already know that our player is either walking, jumping, double jumping, or wall jumping, but they shouldn't be wall jumping or double jumping at the same time. Simply put, a state machine helps us keep track of whatever state our player is currently in, such as wall jumping or double jumping, and then allows us to make informed decisions about what to do when our player either enters, exits, or is presently in that state. I'm going to go here, go create C# script, and call this player movement state. I'm going to attach that onto my player, and then I'm going to click these three dots to just move it up. I'm going to set up some new animations for my player as well. So let's just duplicate this 4 times for each of our different animations, and we'll rename these to fall, jump, double jump, and wall jump. So I'm going to go into the animator and drag on double jump, fall, jump. Just put them anywhere for now. We'll worry about moving them around later, and wall jump. Okay. With my player selected, I'm now going to select, say, double jump, delete these keyframes, and then we'll go into the players folder. We'll take the double jump over here and put this guy in. I'm going to stretch this one out to about 15 and play that to see how it looks. Looks pretty good. We'll do the same for fall, delete the existing keyframes and put the fall in, which is only 1 frame, and that's how it looks. We'll do the same for jump. Jump is only 1 frame, so same thing. And then we'll do the same for wall jump. Wall jump is multiple frames, so it's a few, and I'll test that at 15. Yep, I'd say that looks pretty good. Now I'm into the player movement state script that we've set up, and I'm going to start by creating a serialized field, private animator. Now, I'm going to make a few private const string variables for my different animation states. And we'll call this one first, idle anim, and we'll just call this idle, and I'm going to create a few more for the rest of my states. So there we go, I've gone ahead and created these variables. The variable names don't matter as much as long as they make sense. What does matter is that these guys here match up exactly to the way these are spelt over here in the Unity animator. Now I'm going to set up my state machine in player movement state. The way that we're going to do this is by first declaring an enum, which is essentially like a drop-down list value if you haven't used them before. We're going to write public enum and then give it a name, and I'm just going to call this move state. Open some squiggly brackets, and then give it some state names. So we're going to do idle, and then comma, drop down a line, run, and basically repeat all of these. There we go. I have move state set up. Now I'm going to delete my start and update, and I'm going to make a new method, and it's going to be public void set move state, and it's going to take in a reference to that enum variable. So move state, and I'm also going to need a current reference to this enum. So I'm going to make over here, I'll make this actually a public move state, current move state, and we'll do get private set, which means that we can reference this variable from other scripts, but we can only set it within this script. Now the first thing I'm going to do in this method is say if move state equals current move state, then we are going to return. We're not going to do anything. Otherwise, we're going to set a new move state. Usually when dealing with enum values, this is where we can use something called a switch statement, which is kind of like an if statement, but it just works better for handling and comparing a constant value like an enum. So we're going to say switch move state, squiggly brackets, and then we're going to write case, and it's going to give us a list of all the different states that we just created in this enum. So I'm going to go through them one by one and say case move state.idle. Then I'm going to go down a couple lines and say break. And in here I could implement my own logic, but the way I like to do it is by declaring a new method for each one. So I would say handle idle, and then in here I would call handle idle. And now I'm going to do the same for the rest of them. There we go. I've added the rest of the cases and created empty methods for each of them. One thing you can also do in a switch statement, which is good, is to write a default, which is what gets called if none of these are true. And this might be valuable if I was to add a new movement state to the player, but then I forgot to set it up. We would just say debug.log error and open some brackets, put a $sign in front and say invalid movement state, squiggly brackets, and then I would reference this variable here, move state, and it would just print that out for us in ugly red text telling us that something went wrong. Then one last thing I like to do is I'm going to add a using system namespace reference up at the top here, and then I'm going to go under my constant variables and I'm going to make a public static action, and I'm going to call this on player move state changed. And then I'm going to put over here these types of brackets, and I'm going to put in move state. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about this right now. We're not going to actually do anything with it at the moment other than set it up. But basically, this is just going to let anything we need in our game recognize that the player movement state has changed if we find a need to do that. I just like to set this up in the beginning. So I'm going to copy this variable name, and over here at the bottom outside of this squiggly bracket, which is for our switch statement, I'll just collapse that, and I'm going to say on player move state changed dot invoke move state. And the question mark here is basically saying if nothing is going to be listening for this on the other end, there should be no error thrown. That's okay. And before I forget, we also need to say current move state equals move state. So we're essentially reassigning the current move state if this indeed has been updated and changed. We're going to need to go into our player jump script, go all the way to the top, and make a reference to this player move state. So we're going to write serialized field, private player movement state, and we'll call that player movement state. And I don't actually need this in the player movement itself, believe it or not. In fact, over here where we've currently been controlling the logic for the idle and the run animations, we're actually just going to delete this altogether because we're going to now be controlling that logic through the player movement state script. So we can go back into Unity, and on our player movement state script, we can bring in the animator. And on the player jump state, we can also hook up the player movement state to the player jump. There's nothing to do on the player movement. That stays exactly the same. Also, within the animator, I've made one change here. I removed the actual arrows that were going between idle and run. And in this case here, I can actually just delete this as well. If you do have the arrows in here and you aren't sure how to delete them, you can just click on the arrow and then just hit the delete key on your keyboard. But we're actually just going to be transitioning through these various animations in code, so there isn't going to be any arrows going between them this way now. In our player jump script, we can go down to where we are calling the different jump types. So for instance, over here, we're calling wall jump, and we already set up a reference to the player movement state. So we can call the method name in here, which is set move state, and then call set move state. In this case, it would be wall jump. And where's my wall jump? There it is. I'm going to copy this line, and we have a double jump over here, so I can just paste that in here and write double jump. And then up here under the check jump type, right before we call jump, we can just paste that in one more time here and write jump. The reason I'm not putting this in the jump method itself is because we're also calling jump from within double jump, and we're just giving it a different jump force. So even though it really shouldn't matter because we are doing an early return here in the state machine, just for cleanliness, I just decided to call it from where I did. That should take care of our jump logic, but we still need to handle idle, run, and fall. And for this purpose, I think it's better if we let the game handle this logic as much as possible. And the way we're going to do this is by using the rigid body. So I'm going to go here in our player movement state and declare a serialized field and private rigid body 2D. And we're going to name that rigid body. We're going to have to hook that up in Unity. Then I'm also going to go here underneath and write private update, and we're going to be using our update to set the move state locally within the player movement state script based on our rigid body's velocity. So what we can do is basically look at what the y velocity is here for our rigid body and make smart decisions based on that knowledge as to whether our player should be in an idle, run, or falling state. So for instance, we can say if rigid body dot velocity dot y equals 0, meaning there's no vertical movement, then logically we could say set move state to be move state dot idle. However, just because there's no vertical movement doesn't mean there isn't any physical movement. Now, you might think that we could just do something like this and say if dot x equals 0 and dot y equals 0, finish that off properly, then we would set idle. That would be good if we were controlling the player's horizontal movement with the rigid body, but we're actually controlling the player's horizontal movement just through transform.translate, which doesn't use the rigid body. So we do need to control that logic a little bit differently. Not too different, but we can just say here private float xpos last frame, and then we can go to the bottom of update and say xpos last frame equals transform.position.x, and then here instead of saying rigid body.velocity.x equals 0, we can say if transform.position.x does not equal xpos last frame, and excuse me, that should be does equals last frame. Obviously, we want to make sure the player is standing still, so they should be in the same position. Now we can do an else if, and inside the logic we can do is pretty similar. This will be for run, but now we can say if the position is not the same, however, we want to make sure that the player is still grounded, so their y velocity should still be 0, then we can say, see if you can guess it, they are going to be in a running state. And finally, we can say else if, in this case, we can just say rigid body.velocity.y is less than 0. Well, if that's true, then they must be in a falling state. Finally, we need to go down into these methods here and actually set the animator to play the animations we want them to play. So animator.play idle, anim, and then we're going to repeat this for the remaining methods. There we go. I've set all of them up. And just a note, you don't necessarily need to make methods for all these. You could put this logic directly within the switch statement. It's just the way that I choose to do things. Back within Unity, let's make sure to hook the rigid body 2D up to the player movement state rigid body. We'll give it a test. And let's see. There's my double jump. Runs, goes back to an idle. Do a nice wall jump. And he does a fall whenever he's falling, goes into a double jump and does a fall. Yeah, that's all looking really, really good. I noticed there is one small lingering issue. That has to do with my wall jump not facing the right direction. But if you look at the sprites here, the wall jump animation or the wall jump sprites are facing left, whereas all the other ones are facing right. But that's just something we can fix in Photoshop.
In the next video, we are going to get started creating tile maps using Unity's powerful, built-in dynamic tile map features that will allow us to create exciting levels. I'll see you there.